Men, if you're ready to reclaim your edge, listen up. I used to be held back by constant bathroom trips, with multiple wake ups during my sleep and looking for restrooms whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Man. After just 2 months, I started experiencing fewer trips to the bathroom, less urge to go, and I even slept through some nights. I feel a noticeable boost in my overall well-being, even sexual stamina. It gives me the freedom and confidence to live life on my terms. Better Man is clinically tested and trusted by thousands of men over 25 years. Ready to take back control? Go to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.
Yeah! Fuck yeah! What's up, Leslie?
Not much. Everything is great.
Everything is great and it's so perfect. Do you like my titty mug?
I love your titty mug. I also love that there's heart nipples.
Oh, totally. And
Cute.
my kids go like this sometimes.
Oh my God, they're textured too. I really want a pussy mug, like a vulva mug. And there's a lady down in Austin that makes them, and I need to just go down there and get me one because it's like this beautifully like ceramic pussy on the mug. Like the titties are
Handmade.
contoured. Handmade.
Oh my God. But is like the vulva open on the front or do you drink?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. It's on the front. Yeah.
Oh my God. When you get one, please send me information.
I will.
To me.
I definitely will.
Oh my God, I love it. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Radical Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Betancourt, and my guest today is Leslie Draffin. I'm super excited to have Leslie on. It's been a second to get together, but here we are. I'd love to introduce her to you. Leslie Draffin is a woman's somatic coach, psychedelic microdosing guide, and womb mystic. She helps midlife women embrace their bodies, sex, and psychedelics so they can overcome the wound of unworthiness, get free from mental health challenges, and build a life they're excited about. Leslie believes somatic practices like breathwork, along with sacred earth medicine, have the power to bring us home to ourselves, awaken our authenticity, and heal the trauma locked within our subconscious. Amen and yes. Leslie, I wish that I could be a client of yours. Can you tell me, the first time we spoke, you were telling me a bit about how your sessions go and how you work with people.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that you could start us off by just giving us an example of what an experience in a session with you might be like. And also on that same note, like what do people typically come to you for?
Mm-hmm. You know, people generally come to me for feelings of either stuckness, maybe they've been in therapy and feel like it's just not getting them anywhere, or they come to me with a very specific knowing of I've had sexual trauma, or I have this block around sex, or I know I want to connect with my feminine energy, but X, Y, and Z. So they're either at a crossroads that they may not be very clear on what's the cause of it, or sometimes these women come to me and they're very clear about what's happened in their life and they want to move through it. And so what the other thing I'll say is sometimes they don't know what it is, and we uncover that it's a sexual block, or we uncover that it's something that's a wound within the womb. I've had people that I've worked with who have remembered sexual trauma that they had repressed from their teenage years. I've had a lot of folks that I've worked with who've experienced some type of sexual assault. So sometimes they come to me with the like purpose and desire to move through those things, and sometimes through our work, those become uncovered. And really what I say, my job here is to, hold space, be grounded in my own body so that I can allow women to reawaken their own womb and body wisdom through microdose assisted sessions that look like, obviously there's intake forms and all of that, but when we get into session together, they'll eat their microdose of mushrooms, which is a teeny tiny dose that's not enough to make you high, but enough to open your subconscious, enough to open you to the sensations of the body. And the beginning of sessions usually look a little bit like talk therapy, what's coming up for you. And then pretty quickly we drop into the story of the body. What sensations are you feeling when you speak about XYZ thing? And then a lot of times we'll wrap a session with a deep dive into some type of a visualization, either to connect with the mushrooms or connect to the womb, connect to the sensations in the body. And so
Mm.
when you're microdosing or when you're working with psychedelic medicine, you are very suggestible, highly suggestible. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it's really powerful and potent to do the work that I do. And yet it's also for me something that I have to be careful of not to put myself in their experience. So it's kind of like I need to be away a little bit. So I don't like to give them a lot of ideas, right? Like I'll usually have them shut their eyes, focus on the darkness behind their eyes, see a gray misty fog and something comes forward from the fog or some images in the fog. What is it? And then they guide me through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's very client led. It's
Yes.
like you are a guide, you
Yeah.
are a facilitator of holding a container for someone to do self exploration
Mhm.
in a sacred space.
Yeah. And I have a general framework, over 7 to 8 sessions. I kind of know where we're going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's deeply into the feminine body, it's meeting your own sacred voice. Usually there's some mother wounding that's around there, wounds around shame, wounds around sex. But yes, just like you said, it's very led by the client. And I like to let them see what they're going to see. And I'm not here to interpret, but to help them get really comfortable learning the language of their body and trusting the things that they're sensing in themselves or seeing in these visualizations, because sometimes that's just really weird, right? Some folks, especially in my early journey, I felt like I couldn't trust the things I saw. I felt like I couldn't trust the sensations in the body. And so many women that I work with have been blocked from their body or disconnected from their body, potentially because of trauma for so long, that a lot of what my work is just validating. Yeah,
Yeah.
you say you see it, I can see it too. And moving through it that way.
Uh, I feel like this describes like every woman I know. Why do you think, aside from culturally, women have been treated like second class citizens or even animals in a lot of different cultures? What is it about? I don't know if you can answer. I don't know. This question is super weird. I just like want to ask it. What is it about being a woman? What is it about being a woman in a woman's body that like most of us find ourselves in this situation where we feel really disconnected from our own sensuality and sexuality? Like what's going on? Maybe
Yeah, I think that
in a
it's,
larger way.
yeah, I think globally, we have been for the last several thousand years in a deeply capitalistic, patriarchal society. Depending on where you are, it varies on the level of what that looks like. But one thing I think that's so fascinating about mushrooms is that they really want us to take care of ourselves so that we take care of the planet. And so when we look at how women have become so disconnected from the body and so, you know, yeah, just like you said, like shamed around sex or shamed around their sensuality, I really think it's because we have been taking advantage of the earth for thousands of years. And women and the earth, I believe, are very closely connected with our
Mhm.
energy, with the fact that I see Mother Earth as a feminine entity. So that's one thing, right? The capitalistic society that tells you you have to hustle and prove and achieve and push and force and be power over versus power with. I think
Mhm.
really, like you said, somebody's got to be over someone else. And it's unfortunately for a lot of us in female bodies, the men that are the ones who are power over us. So I think that's one thing. I think the other thing is because when you look at the way that a lot of us are socialized, whether you have been raised in a religious family or not, my dad's a preacher, the patriarchal religions of the world really do a lot to completely ostracize the feminine. And so for me, what was so deeply healing when I had my spiritual awakening in 2019 was to come back into goddess worship, to come back into working with the divine feminine so that I could see that, it's only been the last couple of thousand years that this has been status quo. But for years and thousands of years previous to that, it was the women who were the ones who were equal to the men, and maybe not even always equal, maybe even a little higher, because our predecessors, our ancestors saw women as what they are, which are these creatrixes, these
Mhm.
magicians, these alchemists of creating life, because they didn't understand, all the nitty gritty that we do now. So I think that's why. I think it's the socialization. I think it's religion. I think it's capitalistic patriarchy. And I also think that it's deep wounds between women, because when we're oppressed, when we are the power, like we have people who are in power over us, we have to compete with each other as well in order to get the little morsels that we can get.
Mm. This is like this hearing your words is like making me feel like I want to cry
Mhm.
and lay naked on the ground or something. Like I can feel it in my own feminine body, but like what
Mhm.
you're saying is so true. And that was a really amazing answer to my left field question. We are like fractals of the whole, and more so than men. Sorry, men, no shade on you, but like we are more earth
Yeah.
energy oriented in our body. Like I did ayahuasca a couple months ago, and it was like I never felt earth energy like that. Like you think it's like
Mm.
flowers and they're so pretty, but like it was like almost grotesque, like
Yes.
earth, blood, dirt, mud energy, and like the ayahuasca being like sucked me up into a womb or like a
The
dark
void.
place
Mhm.
and chewed me up and spit me back out.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's totally what I needed. I didn't need like a fluffy massage. My inner self, my deeper psyche wanted that more like raw, awakening energy.
Mhm.
And I think it's so powerful that it's
Mhm.
been feared. And like we are in this patriarchal time
Mhm.
still, but there's this rising that's
Yeah.
happening too. And I think that's probably why someone in your position is probably finding really a lot of people to work with, because it's
Mhm.
such a desired state for
Mhm.
a lot of us women who are like, yeah, this doesn't fit
Right.
anymore. Like this shitty situation that we've been placed in just by being born with two X chromosomes, or however you identify as being
Yeah.
feminine or female. It's arising, and it's like
Mhm.
the shedding that has to happen to go through this metamorphosis is gross and like and not pretty, and it's
Mm.
it's not sexy, you know what I mean? Like the healing work and womb energy and earth energy is not like horny sexy stuff, I don't think, to me.
Not
It's
corny
like,
sexy. It's because it's not male gaze sexy,
right,
but it's like deeply sensual.
deeply,
And
and
I
on
and
like almost too much, like it has to be done in layers.
Mhm.
I would imagine, like I'm not a sex therapist or a specialist in this, but I could see it's like it's so much energy that can
Mhm.
rise and that can come up, and it has to be titrated or like
Yeah.
handled professionally and
Mhm.
in a really caretaking way. Like
Yeah.
I'm afraid of my own sensuality. I can say, like I want to
Mm.
be this sexy person, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want that kind of attention. Like I don't know if I want to
Ah.
really deeply feel like that, but I kind of do. Do you find that in clients? Is that kind of like a common struggle that women have?
I have literally so many questions for you, but that's for a different time. I'm like, oh, tell me more. So, do I find that in clients? Sometimes, a lot of the clients that I have witnessed working with have a fear of being seen, and they are
Yes.
not necessarily tying that to their sensuality. They may tie it to violence done on them sexually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking of a couple of clients, they'll do things like they'll subconsciously gain weight, or they will shrink, or they will, do these things that they're not really consciously aware of because of what's happened. And so I think that it's maybe a little bit of a fear of being seen, and a fear of what they think it means to be a sexual person and to be a sensual person. And so I'm hearing you say some things that also make me feel like, maybe you have this fear of being what you think it is. Because you're like, I don't want the attention, or I don't want it to be perceived as this.
Mhm.
But like when you were talking about your ayahuasca experience, the grossness is what I'm fucking here for. And that's like, I think possibly why I have sat at the feet of the primordial lizard goddess in the midst of
Yeah.
mushroom ceremony. And I'm just like, it's so fascinating, but also, yeah, it can be scary. It can be really raw. Um, and I think that's why it's important to work with someone around these types of things, because things can get really big. They can feel scary. They can feel very shadowy.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, to answer the question in a roundabout way, yes, I have experienced that with people. The way that I generally work with sensuality and the way that I work with pleasure is by helping you get into the body first. We're not going straight to genitals. Sometimes we never get there. We never go to genitals. And and for me, I think that's the biggest difference is between sensuality and sexuality. Sensuality, in my opinion, is deeply connecting to all the senses of the body. It doesn't have much to do with orgasms, but it has a lot to do with pleasure. And how can you move through life as someone who is so deeply full of pleasure, from the coffee that they drink to the feet? I was telling Jess beforehand, we've had so many storms in Texas. My backyard is like gushy, like muddy, and we have a bunch of clay, and it's just like, putting your feet in that. I'm like, oh, yes, I kind of like it. I kind of hate it. But like, how do we connect in all of these ways to the senses and the sensuality and find pleasure in that? And
Mm.
so when I work with clients who come to me and they've had sexual trauma, or they have birth trauma, or they've had an abortion, or whatever it is, they're single for a really long time and they want to call in a love, but they've blocked that part of themselves. It's always through this little by little awakening sensual pleasure, not sexual pleasure, that helps us unlock these other spaces within ourselves that we can call in love, we can call in more money, we can call in a new job.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It's like it's that I think a lot of people just don't feel safe enough to like go to these big leaps and bounds right
Right.
away. It's and using the primordial senses, right?
Mhm.
Like what we can see and taste and smell and touch can be a really sensual, not necessarily sexual act, but like you
Yeah.
can feel a similar effect happening in your body. Like you can be
Mhm.
aroused by a really awesome latte.
Yeah. Hell
You
yeah.
can be like, well, I'm so turned on by the mud in my yard.
The
And
sun on my body. Oof.
yes, yes. And as I'm just saying this right now, I feel, and maybe I'll just make up and generalize and throw a blanket statement, that a lot of us turn that off because it can be misconstrued by other people who are not in a healthy place sexually.
Mm,
Maybe they're people close to us or people who observe us, and it doesn't feel safe to like be that free and sensuous in your own body because of harm that you've incurred or harm that you've heard about or
yeah.
sexual violence that lives within you. So how do you begin to address that? Like if someone just doesn't feel safe in their
Yeah.
body to do exploration.
And the other thing I think people think is I'm gonna look so weird.
Oh yeah.
Like if I'm just walking around, and that for me, this was still when I was in TV. Um I just started to make a lot more noises. Like like sighing, or
Wait,
if I
on
had
TV?
no, in the like in the newsroom, like when I
Oh,
was
okay.
there with all my coworkers. I wouldn't do this when
Uh-huh.
I was on like the newscasts, but they would actually start making fun of me because, and I was like the newsroom mama and I did whatever I wanted really. And it was when I started this work, it was in the pandemic. And I would just, they were like, God, there's Leslie like sighing and yawning. And I'm like, yes, because it feels
Oh
good, damn it. Like, so,
my
but I think that that weirdness keeps people from fully getting into the body. But
God.
to what you had said, when people are afraid of tapping in, or when they are, oh, feeling like they're blocked, I think for me, what's important to remember is that disconnecting from the body and not being able to feel pleasure, or not being able to be present in a moment, is a deep sign of trauma, a deep sign of wounding, a deep disconnect. Because here's the thing, all of us live in the head. Some of us live primarily in the head.
Mhm.
And so when we're in our thinking brain, we're in our, mind, we can disconnect from the part of ourselves that's below the neck. And so
Yeah.
that I see that happen a lot with women who have experienced sexual trauma, or they have, and I guess we should also define what I believe sexual trauma to be. It's anything that's happened to you that your body was not okay with or that has deeply impacted you in the long run. It doesn't always mean violence.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was getting herpes at age 18 from a consensual sexual relationship, but still all the shame that came flaring up afterwards. It's saying yes when the body says no. It's having intercourse, penetrative intercourse when your pussy's not wet enough. It's negative self-talk.
Men, if you're ready to reclaim your edge, listen up. I used to be held back by constant bathroom trips, with multiple wake-ups during my sleep and looking for restrooms whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Man. After just 2 months, I started experiencing fewer trips to the bathroom, less urge to go, and I even slept through some nights. I feel a noticeable boost in my overall well-being, even sexual stamina. It gives me the freedom and confidence to live life on my terms. Better Man is clinically tested and trusted by thousands of men over 25 years. Ready to take back control? Go to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.
So all of these things can become a sexual form of trauma. And so when you have that living in the body, it's really common to feel like you can't connect with yourself below the neck. And so for those women who come to me and they're like that, the first thing we do is just, okay, can you, maybe you're going to do like a sensual eating practice. Can you eat the yummiest piece of fruit that you could possibly eat? Take 10 minutes to eat it. And I want you to taste it with the tip of your tongue. I want you to like lick it, suck it, chew it, and let it be weird. And don't do it in front of anyone. Don't do it in front of me, right? Like no one's going to watch you do it, but like how slow can you go? And maybe if food, I have a long history of eating disorders, is a trigger for you. Maybe it's a bath. Maybe it's when you're showering. Can you move like a snail's pace to really stretch this out? And when it gets to a part where it feels too much, you stop. So it's titration into the body through things that aren't sexual, through the things that don't feel triggering to you. And so that's, I think, one way to start connecting below the neck, is little by little exciting parts of the senses that feel safe, like scent or touch or sound, or, you know, making your world around you as beautiful as possible, cleaning up the clutter in your fucking house. Like all of those little things can be, can be angles in to the body through the senses that can eventually help you feel safe. Because if you can't feel safe, if the body won't feel safe, you can't experience pleasure. And so that's why I often say pleasure is such an amazing tool for healing trauma, because if you can feel safe enough to experience pleasure, then you can feel safe enough to go into the parts of the body and parts of the story that have that trauma living there.
Oh my God. I feel like I have way more trauma than I know now. but I want to know these things,
Right.
you know, and like,
And
I don't often sit down and talk with an expert about sexual trauma. So it's like, it really is, it's interesting to hear your definition, because 90% of the women I know have violent sexual trauma, but it doesn't have to be that. You can feel stunted in your sexual expression or even your creative expression. They're housed in the same chakra, right? It's all this lower energy, this grounded energy, our sexual energy, our creative energy that we feel disconnected from. Like, I think they're all in there together. And it can be something slight, not slight, but like something that just didn't land well and also wasn't processed.
And it can be slight. No, I think you're right. You know, sometimes when I have conversations on podcasts, trauma is the word we use, and that's what we're using. Sometimes the word that I use with people is wounds. It's blocks, right? And so I think there's so much stigma around the word trauma that I try to use it in a lot of different ways. And I know that's going to be controversial to some people, because I just want people to understand trauma is not what happened to you. Trauma is what happened in the body afterwards. Were you able to process it through? Were you able to move through it? Or did it land and stay stuck in a place? And so various things can cause it. So many things can cause it. And so maybe you want to use the word trauma. Maybe you want to use the word block. Maybe you want to use the word obstacle or challenge. But it's anything that's keeping you either from the life you really want, from the expression that you really want, or that's digging up these little triggers continuously that are becoming habits or patterns that, again, make you feel stuck.
So it's so interrelated just to like the way we live our lives,
Yeah.
like a lot of us are very topical and business like and cut and dried with things, cut and paste. And it's like, this isn't the fullest, this isn't the best we can do.
Yeah.
This isn't the best sense of humanity that we can be
Hmm.
living in.
Yeah.
I have so many questions for you. But I really want to talk about how can someone gently begin to do some simple somatic work. Like you gave some really good examples, like
Hmm.
taking a slow shower or taking 10 minutes to eat a piece of fruit.
Hmm.
Is there something you could offer our audience that's maybe on the lines of like breath work or like a simple, something easy that they could do in like 5-10 minutes at home or just right now as they're listening that can help them connect with,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, you're like, yeah.
Yes. Connect with. Yes.
Connect with,
Well,
I was going to say
yeah.
their womb or like their sexual center.
Mm,
um you could pick if it needs to be something specific, but I just know like so many of us are just really, yeah, we live up in our heads or we live
yeah.
like in upper bodies even, and we're
Mhm.
completely detached
From the below.
from the
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
from the
From
nether
the below.
region, from our
Yes.
secret no place.
Oh my gosh. So yes, of course. So since we've been talking about, sexual trauma, since we've been talking about the womb, I think what I would love to guide people through is just like a gentle womb reconnection. Maybe we can do like a little, I don't know, we would call it a somatic practice, but it's kind of a visualization and a meditation. What did you want to do that? Okay.
Mhm.
So taking a few moments to close the eyes unless you're driving. Um, Try to put the feet on the ground. If you're seated or laying down, that's okay too. If you're laying down, bend the knees with the flat part of the feet on the ground, knees up, and just gently let your hands fall anywhere on the belly that feels comfortable and safe to you. And if you have triggers around the belly, maybe you want to use the upper thighs instead. And gently just bringing in touch, letting the hands rest, cupping the belly. As you breathe in through the nose, letting the belly soften and expand, and exhaling through the mouth with a sound. It could be a sigh, a moan. Feeling the belly contract a little bit as you exhale. Continuing to breathe in that way, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And what I want you to imagine is that you have eyes in the palms of your hands. So you're letting your hands see for you. You're not judging the places on your body through your mind's eye. You're letting the hands speak and you're letting the body speak through the hands. And so, what I want you to do is just get curious about the way that your belly feels. Noticing any little folds as you travel, maybe to the left side of the belly. Maybe you feel the bony part of the left hip. And then traveling over to the right slowly, noticing any folds, noticing any sweet, cute little rolls over to the right hip. So when we think of the womb and the pelvic region, the pelvic bowl, it sits in between the pelvis, which is this hard, bony part. And so what you can do now is put one hand on the right hip and one hand on the left hip and press down until you feel the bones. Maybe you're pressing in with the pointer finger, feeling the bone on the front part of the hip. And now what I want you to do is bring the hands back to the back side of the body. If you have that type of flexibility, just move as far as you can. See if you can press in with the fingers near the tailbone, near the spine, and feel that flat, hard part of the pelvis. This is just helping us get in touch with the structure of the pelvis, the structure of the pelvic bowl. And then bringing the hands back around to the front, moving down below the belly fold, down to the fleshy part of the mons pubis, which is where the hair grows. You don't have to touch low. You don't, and if this is triggering, you don't have to touch down there, but I want you to just press into that fleshy part because underneath there, you may also feel some bone, right? There's a bone in there. And you may also feel a lot of flesh. And that's totally perfect. So now what I want you to do is I want you to place your hands a couple of inches below the belly button, between the belly button and that fleshy part of the body. About halfway is generally where the womb lives, and it's about the size of a fist unless you're pregnant or bleeding. And so just have your hands there. You can place thumbs together, pointer fingers and middle fingers together pointing down. This is in Yoni Mudra. And all I want you to do is place hands there and feel the warmth of your hands on the space. And envision in between your hands, in between that webbing from thumb to pointer, in this downward facing triangle, that you have this tiny little ember of coal. And as you breathe and you inhale, you feel the belly soften, you feel the belly become more full. And as you exhale, blow on the coal by pursing your lips and exhaling. Just like you would if you were tending to a fire. With each exhale, I want you to see the coal take spark. You see that flame going brighter, and you feel the warmth growing in the belly, growing in the womb space. This crimson colored fire grows brighter with each exhale as you breathe life into that space. And maybe you feel that fire growing bigger than your hands so that you can move the hands a little bit. Maybe you just place the right hand now over that space and let that hand move with the belly as you inhale and exhale, feeling the warmth in the palm of that fire within the womb. Now, in your next exhale, instead of pursing the lips and blowing, I want you to blow out with a ha. And as you exhale with that ha sound, you feel that warmth rising in the belly, in through the chakras of the solar plexus, and even warming up the throat. Now returning to just a normal breath. Hands there on the belly, feeling warm. Just thank yourself for taking the time to participate in this meditation, knowing that you have spent a little bit of time igniting the fire within the womb, that creativity, that place of deep love, that sensual fire. Noticing now in your other parts of the body what sensations feel alive for you. Maybe you feel warm and tingly. Maybe parts of you feel a little numb or achy. All of those are sensations that you can learn to listen to by tapping into the body. You don't need to try to decipher what it is they're saying to you. Just noticing them and becoming aware of them is enough to begin the conversation. Letting the hands now fall to maybe the thighs if you're seated. Giving yourself a little pat, a little tickle with the fingers, rolling the shoulders out, just bringing some movement to parts of the body. Maybe you're going to put your neck side to side, swallowing. And when you're ready, you can start to blink the eyes back open and come back into the space. Love that you're massaging your face. Love that.
That was awesome. Can I tell you what my experience was?
Yes, please.
Okay. So when we started, I really am pleased that I get to have visuals, but we all have, our subconscious speaks in different modalities, but mine tends to be more visual. And so I saw some stairs, like I was going down, and then I had like a torch when you said that we were going to light the coal. I went down and I got the coal, and then I had a torch. And then when we were blowing on the coal, I saw like a little kid hand with like a stick of marshmallows, with like toasting marshmallows on my coal. And I was like, oh, my womb has fun energy too. Like that's what I got.
Yes.
Like, oh, it's supposed to be fun. Like it doesn't, it's not all Dungeons and Dragons, it's like it's not all treachery, it's not all
Yes.
trauma. I was like, oh, I'm fun too. And then this like kid hand was like toasting these marshmallows for a while. And then when we moved the energy up, I felt like dragon energy kind of, plus with the
Mm.
breath. And then I was
Hmm.
like, oh, and then like the tip of my tongue went kind of numb a
I
little bit.
love that.
And it was really fun. And like it really, I don't do enough of this work, I think, honestly. Like
Mm.
I love shadow work and working with the subconscious and with dreams and with psychic realms, but like I'm neglecting my own backyard or my front yard,
Mm.
my
Hmm.
hearth, or whatever analogy I want to use.
Yeah.
We're powerful. We're so powerful. Like womb energy is really powerful. And that is why it has been squished and
Hmm.
tried to be eradicated or contained or controlled.
Yes.
We're wild Kali creatures. Who's the feminine? Kali or Shakti? Who's the feminine?
Shakti is like the main with Shiva, Shakti and Shiva, but Kali
Oh,
is like the primordial destructress who
okay,
creates
yeah,
through upheaval.
yeah.
And yeah, she's like been a guide of my deep dark nights of the soul. So, old Kali.
Kali energy. Oh, I love that. I'm gonna do that again, probably later today.
I love that. I love that. And I love
Love.
that you had the play. I love that the fun came through because I think that's so true. It's another aspect, right? Like if you want to begin this work and maybe sensuality or pleasure feels too much for you, maybe you have had a history that feels, that you've been, really disconnected from that space of yourself for good reason, right? To protect yourself. Maybe it's the fun that comes in. Maybe it's the play that comes in. And that's why I like to have like the hand. I always envision there's like eyeballs in my hands.
I really like
And
that.
that can't judge. Your eyeballs in your hands are non-judgmental.
They're just
They're just
seeing it.
there. Yeah.
Like on Labyrinth, the movie Labyrinth.
Yes.
Yeah, like those hands.
Yep. They're disconnected from brain. So these hands don't, the eyeball hands don't have the stories that the brain
No.
has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely non-judgmental. They are non-biased on you.
Yeah.
Ah, that was so fun. I need to make a sandwich and go get my kid for karate. But I want to know before I go, how can people find you and how
Mhm.
can they work with you? And like, what are your latest offers that people
Mm.
might be interested in working more with you?
Well, I think the easiest thing to do would be to give you some links for the show notes. I am on Instagram. I have my own podcast, The Light Within. Right now, I'm pouring a lot of energy into my group coaching membership, The Inner Circle, which is a wonderful entry point for those women who want to connect with microdosing, who want to connect with their womb, who may be experiencing things like burnout or disconnection, and like the idea of being held in a container that has other women in it as well, and maybe don't want to invest the 3K plus that, one-on-one work costs. I would love to give you a link to have them try it out for a week free. And we meet twice a month for group live sessions, plus a live microdosing assisted ceremony where we do this type of visualization. There's monthly themes. This month's theme is May's theme is connecting to your future self now. And so it's a really lovely entry point for women who, yeah, want to begin the work or be held in a container as they continue to do the work. And then I also have one-on-one coaching. I have some free guides on how to microdose, and an embodiment practice called the Shift Method that you'll get if you access my email list. So I'll put a link in maybe the show notes for the free microdosing guide, which is a good entry point.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay, so much to choose from.
So much to
Just
choose from.
from Leslie herself. I'll put all of those links in the show notes. And are you on Instagram as Leslie Draffin? I'll put the link
I
too.
am, yes. And I've just yesterday I finally like claimed the title of like womb mystic, nervous system witch. So that's me.
Awesome. I was like, are you a sexpert or what should we call you? But I think those titles are
Yeah. Yeah.
better. Cool. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Maybe we can do a second installment in a couple months.
Yeah. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
I'd
Jess,
love
thanks for
it.
having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back again with you next week. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who you think would benefit from it. And we also really are deeply appreciative, and you have good karma for you if you leave us a 5-star review on anywhere you listen to your podcast. Have an amazing day, and we will be back with you very soon.
Men, if you're ready to reclaim your edge, listen up. I used to be held back by constant bathroom trips with multiple wake-ups during my sleep and looking for restrooms whenever I was out. Then I discovered Better Man. After just 2 months, I started experiencing fewer trips to the bathroom, less urge to go, and I even slept through some nights. I feel a noticeable boost in my overall well-being, even sexual stamina. It gives me the freedom and confidence to live life on my terms. Better Man is clinically tested and trusted by thousands of men over 25 years. Ready to take back control? Go to BeBetterNow.com to order your supply today. That's BeBetterNow.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed. Individual results may vary.